Well, hello everyone, hope you are all well. You're joining me on the allotment today. Now, I haven't been down the allotment much over the last few weeks. So I'm just running around making a to-do list. So if you want to join me on that, we'll crack on this video. My name's Richard and I am on a mission to grow as much food as I possibly can. On my allotment and modern victory garden, we have plenty of land in which to achieve this. And this is my video diary. Now, I don't mind admitting, the allotment has become a bit of a mess due to, well, the winter has been so wet and boggy down here. I actually got my vehicle stuck in the mud for a few days, so I've kind of avoided a bit down the allotment, but it's starting to dry up now and things are moving forward. So it means now all I've got to do is just have a good clear up, tidy up, if you like. So I've been here today. I've done a bit of weeding, and in fact what I'm doing more and more of this year, which I experimented with last year, is I'm using grass to mulch some of the beds. So I get my lawnmower out and just run over the grass each week, and those grass clippings I then will cover over any of the beds. I've done that already with my garlic bed today. The garlic is up and growing pretty well. The best of the growth is still yet to come, but what it's done so far is pretty good. So I've just covered that over in a layer of grass clippings, and that will help suppress the weeds. I'm going to repeat that on all 6 of these beds that I have going on here. Now, some of the other beds are going to have other functions. I won't get into those today because it will take too long. But what I am going to do, over the very back, I've got an old elder tree that needs cutting down. Now, I quite like elder tree, and I planted that tree just there anyway. And I planted it because I use a lot of elderflower in May for making elderflower cordial, elderflower batter, elderflower wine, elderflower champagne, so many uses. And then in the autumn we use the berries for another load of use as well. Unfortunately, the tree itself is just so twisted and convoluted and takes up so much space that I need to cut it right back. Eventually I want to get rid of it. It's actually going to go over the height limits that we have set on our allotments. We can't have anything over 2.4 meters, 8 foot. So I've got to cut it back and be done with it. It's going to be a shame. It is a pretty useful tree. In fact, I'm just seeing some of the buds are starting to pop into life now. So I'm going to have to crack on with that and do that quite soon. Now, apart from that, it's going to be a case that throughout March I'm just going to be spending a lot of time clearing out all the weeds, chopping that up and throwing it into the compost heaps ready to rot down. But over on the other bed, you may well remember that I mentioned when I took down my shed at home that I was going to use the corrugated iron for something. Well, I've built 3 beds out of that old corrugated iron. They're quite deep beds, very deep. In fact, if I stand next to one, you'll see it comes up to sort of halfway up my thigh, and so that's probably 2.5 foot, 3 foot tall, pretty deep. It's going to take a lot of compost to fill them up. So what I'm not going to do is fill them all up with compost. What I'm going to actually do this year is grow my potatoes in these beds, and then I've got space in between the beds where I can add some buckets and stuff if need be as well. But as the potatoes grow, I'm going to be adding more grass clippings and compost if I've got compost available, but more leaning towards the grass clippings. Then hopefully that will build up the compost in the beds throughout this year. But they're built. That's going to happen in March. I'm going to be planting those, and then down towards the very back behind these 2 beds I've got over here, I've built another couple of beds. Now, these were beds that I had at home, my original garden beds made out of old decking boards. My brother-in-law's decking boards, if I remember right. I've made 3 of those beds. I've got 1 more at home to come down. I'm going to be growing my onions, spring onions, or spring sown onions I should say, in those in order to continue growing. Now, one thing that I did do over the winter was sow some green manures, and this green manure that I used was Facilia, which I've read is very good, or meant to be very good, at suppressing weeds. So I sowed a load of that, and so far it does look like it has suppressed quite a few of the weeds, particularly the couch grass. So I found it to be pretty fast acting and pretty fast growing, so I'm certainly going to be using more and more of that, but that's probably going to be more in the autumn slash winter time when I can sow that. The rest of the space, obviously, it's going to be used up for beans and things like that, which we'll worry about later on. But it's just at the moment, I think, a case of having a really big tidy up, because I don't mind saying it is a mess down here. And this is what happens when you don't concentrate on this plot for properly since about November, for about 6 months. So yeah, I've got my work cut out for me, and it's my own fault. However, my home plot is coming along really nicely. Really happy with how things are progressing there, which means once a home plot is finished, the home plot actually takes less work to maintain than the allotment. So once a home plot is finished, I can concentrate on down here. Right, well, that's it for this video. This is just a quick little video to share a bit of an update. I haven't really featured the allotment much over the last few videos, so it's a bit of a quick update just to fill you in what's going on and how things are looking down here. So yeah, until next time, please take care.